Hopefully, okay. So this is the monthly meeting of the Mathewson-Plank Chapter's hot stove meeting, and um, just to get started here today, a couple things I wanted to bring up. Um, Something really minor, but yet it's kind of cool. On July 31st, I don't know if anybody was aware of the fact that the U.S. Postal Service issued the latest edition of their baseball stamps. And if you haven't seen them, it's Hank Aaron. They're available at the post office, and it's really a nice looking stamp. Karen, you got yours, right?
No,
Oh,
I
you got your yogis,
and then I also had the ballpark ones.
right? Well, this is a
So
nice stamp of Hank. So if you
I
need
just got
stamp,
those too. They're neat.
yeah. Um, Other than that, we were going to talk about something that's happening this weekend with a vintage baseball game, but I guess there's no sense going into that. Do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I think everybody saw that. I think you posted on
Yeah, I mean,
Facebook
if people were
page.
here, the weather looks iffy. The only thing I'm going
Yeah.
to say, one of our members, Mark Stewart, plays for the Keystone Baseball Club of Harrisburg, and they're doing a doubleheader in Columbia, PA, on this Saturday. Um, it's also celebrating the 100th anniversary of the field where they're going to be playing. It's a baseball field. The first game's at 11 o'clock, and if you went out there at 10 o'clock, there's a cemetery right across the street from the field, and the founder and the first president of the original Keystone Baseball Club is buried there, and they go there each year and do a little ceremony at his graveside. Um, but the weather, as I say, is kind of iffy. But if you're in the Lancaster area, the following week on I guess it would be the 24th, I think it is. Uh, the same team is playing another team from um, New Jersey at the Coleman Memorial Chapel 150th anniversary. They're doing a doubleheader there also. But aside from that, I was going to mention the fact that most people know Saber 53 is going to be in the Dallas Fort Worth area next year in June. The Texas Rangers are going to be playing, I believe, Seattle that weekend. And uh, talking about, Saber 53, I was going to ask Scott to kind of tell us what it was like to be an attendee for the first time to one of the Saber conventions. Scott attended Saber 52 in Minneapolis last week, and he was waffling back and forth whether to go or not. Decided at the last minute to give it a whirl. And Scott, I guess the question is, are you glad you did?
Yeah, I'm definitely glad I did. Um, so you get one of these nice little badges here, and then you get this first time attendee ribbon at the bottom. So everybody kind of knows you're a newbie, which I thought was a good idea because it can be pretty daunting your first time as you go to one of these things. Now, I did look ahead and pick out all of the sessions I wanted to attend ahead of time. So it made it a little bit easier. I had a spreadsheet and I could go from room to room. So I knew where I was going, which made it a little bit easier. But I mean, it starts out, they have like a coffee at 7 o'clock in the morning, the first day, like a coffee session for first time attendees. And then there's some folks that have been there for years. 30, I think I met somebody who was there like the 30 years, and he was talking to me and telling me all about the different things that you can get involved with. In fact, he's the one that kind of encouraged me to start writing a biography of one of the players. So he had written, I think, five or six, and it was telling me how the process goes. And he was, thinking about writing a book even. So you get to meet a lot of people like that. I think he was from Arizona. Actually, I have written down his name. I don't have it with me right here, but so that was pretty neat. I mean, you meet a lot of people who maybe the first time or the second time there, but they all have interest in different areas. And I think that's probably the neatest thing about Saber is there's a very baseball is vast. I mean, there's so many different areas you can really focus in on. So I love analytics. I know, and that's not everybody's thing, but they did an analytics panel one day. They had all the Minnesota Twins analytical people up there. I mean, this guy was a physicist, and he was talking about spin rate and all these things. I love that, but that's not everybody's cup of tea, right? So, but there is something for everybody. There really is. I mean, you name it, there's something there. And that's what I loved about SABR, the sessions. You could really get into the weeds on a lot of these things and talking to people and after 2 days, I can tell you my brain was fried. I took in so much information. I wrote down so many notes. I'm kind of still going through a lot of them, but it's a lot to take in, and I think it's well worth it if you ever get a chance to go. And then looking ahead to next year, Frank, I noticed that Harrisburg Airport actually has a direct flight down to Dallas. So um,
Sweet.
I I came back through Nashville and got delayed. We didn't get home to about 1:30 in the morning. I had to go to work the next day. So it was a long day at work that day. So yeah, it was awesome. It's so many different things. The umpire panel, they had an umpire panel with like a 30-year vet who just retired, and now he does grading on the umpires. He was there, and then they had a woman who's in AAA, and she is next in line to get promoted into the major
Mhm.
leagues. So she was there, and the dialogue between them two alone, talking about somebody asked a question, who's the nicest player you ever had to work with, and the guy's like, why ask me who the nicest was? Don't you want to know who the biggest jerk was? And everybody's like, well, yeah. So then he started going in, and she was talking about like when she had to eject people, and it was really really a cool thing. I mean,
And what was the answer to who was the biggest jerk?
oh, he named your typical ones. He goes, anybody you've seen on TV yelling, that's who the biggest jerks are. He li- he didn't really name the names. He just said, who they are. But he did
What
say Joe Mauer was one of the best people to work with when he was behind the plate. He said Joe Mauer, they would talk throughout the game, and he said he was just really a gentleman, a really nice person to talk with, which being in Minnesota, everybody kind of wanted to hear that.
what
But
was it tough to get in any of the panels? I mean, were some of them like uh not sold out? That's not the right word, but maybe booked solid
no,
where you couldn't get in?
in fact, I had seats. I was in the second row on the right side, and I had seats next to me wide open. 'Cause I wanted to get a good pictures and everything. But no, you could sit. If you want to sit front, back, wherever, there was plenty of seats open. Um, yeah, and then they
I
had
know
like,
you.
then they had questions of Q&As. So they had two microphones set up, and it went back and forth, and you could ask questions. There was a lot of interesting questions asked, about today's game, what the players thought of today's game. I thought, Rod Crew doesn't hold a whole lot back. He's not a big fan of today's game, and he made it clear that he doesn't like the way they hit today, and he doesn't watch much baseball. He said if he watches anything, it would be the Twins because he goes to spring training, but he doesn't really like the way the game is today. Tony Oliva skirted around the question a little bit more so, but Rod Grew wasn't afraid to say what he thought.
We talked about something that you were going to participate in, and maybe you can explain it to Karen and let us know how you made out with it. Your baseball card buddy, where
Baseball.
you were supposed to find your partner, the guy that had the
Oh yeah,
same.
the twin. Find your twin.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had Randy Johnson. I don't know if you can see this here,
Ah, yeah.
but it's not the Randy Johnson that we all know.
Oh,
And I
no.
I I searched everywhere I could for somebody had the same card as I had. And
Explain to Karen the concept of what you were supposed to do.
yeah, so everybody had a baseball card. It came in your packet. And then you had to find somebody who had this exact same card. It could be a Kirby Puckett, but it could be Tops, or it could be Don Ross, it could be Fleer. It had to match exactly with the other person. And then you got your picture taken with them. They had a setup area where you could get like a baseball card made, and you and your twin, because it's the twins, get your picture taken and you just turn it in, and then you're entered in for a drawing for a prize. I don't know what kind of prizes they had, but it was a great idea. I thought, because it got people talking. I was walking around. I may not have known somebody. Say, hey, yeah, Randy Johnson. And most of us kept them like facing out when we were walking around. So instead of looking at your name, they're looking at your player. But a lot of people did find their twin, which is pretty cool.
Well, that's neat.
It was a neat idea.
What was the uh best best thing you did there? What was your favorite thing that you did?
Well, I love the ballpark tour, like I was mentioning to you before we hit record here. The idea that we could go in the locker rooms was the first time ever for me to sit in the locker room. They had these those massaging chairs. If you go to, like, the malls and stuff, you put money in and they massage. Well, they had them around the room, and we were sitting in there like and just kind of talking baseball. And on the table, they had magazines. Well, it is all Baseball America. So they had like the latest issues of Baseball America, and all of us were sitting around just talking and kind of reading through these magazines. But then we got to go to the press box. We sat down where the official kept score of the games for the Twins, which is really cool. I mean, it's the best spot in the stadium. I mean, you can see everything. Um, we went out, all of the nice club suites that you would never get a chance to get into. I mean, there was a club suite that has a different menu every single day, and that day they had like some kind of like shrimp, and they had, I mean, it's just amazing the things they had on this menu. And this, she said it's so expensive, like one of those things you'll never get a chance to see. But it was, we got to walk around in there, and um just seeing the ballpark, a different area. We were on the field, obviously. We couldn't go in the grass, so their grass is very special. I mean, they ship it in from Colorado, and we had the head's groundskeeper came out and was telling us all about his job, and this is really detailed down to so I love that part of it. It was just really neat. I love ballparks. I love this all the different ballparks I'd like to just get into and see. I mean, my wife was like, "This is really cool." Like, she was really interested in it.
Yeah. The the thing about the ballparks, I guess the one that impressed me the most was I went to Camden Yards a number of years ago, and it was the same thing where they took us around to the luxury boxes or suites, whatever you want to call them, and they said, "Well, there's the one for the governor," and I think Tom Clancy had one, and but I enjoyed the press box the most at Camden Yards, and you were sitting there, and all the stools where the writers sit are on wheels. And at the time, the guy explained to us the reason for that because at Camden Yards, they had the windows kind of like are open and the foul balls come back. And if you go in the press box, it's like a two-tier seating system for the writers. And when the balls come, they kind of like push off on the chairs to get out of the way. And the wall behind the upper level of writers is all dented from the foul balls that come through the windows. So I
Mhm.
mean, it's kind of neat to see some of that stuff. But yeah, those new ballparks, they got all the amenities.
They really do. They definitely do. I mean, this ballpark, I think, looking at rankings, there's a lot of rankings of the ballparks out there. Target Field usually falls in the top 5 somewhere. So, that was really cool to be able to see that. They even had a section out in the outfield that Winnebago put together. And it was like a big pontoon boat, and the seats were all padded like in a boat. And you could sit around. All of us were sitting in there, like it was just so neat. Some of the little things like that. Um, but yeah, it was great. As far as the research projects, I had emailed two people that really was interested in, and I thought they did a terrific job with it. One was he spoke about the 24 minutes less in a game last year compared to 2018, and where that 24 minutes has gone. So he broke it down where how much the pitch clock has affected the game and all the different aspects of where that time has gone. I thought that was really, really neat. And then the other one I thought was really neat. There was a presentation on 10-cent beer night,
On
which
what?
10-cent beer night and
Oh.
Cleveland. And he had a lot of details on things that, I
Are,
didn't
are
even
you
know
familiar with that,
about.
Karen?
No, I just know the dollar one to get in.
Oh, no, well,
delivered.
give her the thumbnail sketch of what happened at 10
It,
cent beer night.
yeah, it's a promotional event to try to draw people into the ballpark. Basically, they offered 10-cent beers. It was right when colleges had let out too, so there's mostly
Oh,
college kids, and a lot of these places where they were getting the beer at were like kegs and trucks and stuff, and they were overwhelmed so much that they just left, and the kegs were wide open, so it wasn't even 10 cents at that point. It was just a free for all. So
oh
it
my-
turned into, as you can imagine, a
yeah.
drunken crowd, which the previous week, the two teams had gotten in a fight. Texas and Cleveland got into a big brawl. So that even, added to the excitement of the crowd. And then they started throwing things on the field and led people running on the field, streakers. I mean, it was just, and they had to actually forfeit the game. They never even finished it. Cleveland had to forfeit the game.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they do it again a couple weeks later?
They did. Other teams did it. Apparently,
Yes.
there's teams that did it earlier in the year. And then the bars outside around there were doing 10-cent beer nights. So people were drinking before they even got into the ballpark. It was the
Oh,
70s, there was a
Yeah,
That's a Pittsburgh
it's
thing.
part of baseball lore, just like disco nights.
yeah. Yeah. But the owner loved it. He wanted to do it again. The money they made off ticket sales.
Now, do you know who the owner was at the time?
I don't remember who that was now.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Karen, have you ever attended a convention?
No, I really want to. I'd like to. I've gone to all kinds of conventions, but not those. I want to go see Cooperstown. And I just want to go. I like conventions. I love them. I don't know why. It just,
Cooperstown, the museum itself is great. I mean, to go through the museum, the exhibits change. There's some things that are there permanently, needless to say.
okay.
But they're always changing the exhibits. I guess they have so many things to put on display. But I mean, to go there and to walk up to a case and be, like this far from a historical object that you know so well about, from baseball history, and you say, there it is. There's the bat Maris hit the 60th home run, the 60th or the 61st home run, whatever the case may be. There's the glove that Boy Mays made the catch in 1954. And you say, damn, there it is. And it's like, wow. And they got so much stuff that isn't on display.
So
But
what
yeah,
about the women's stuff?
they have, oh, I don't know if I don't want to say there's a wing there, but there is, an exhibit there on the old girls, professional baseball. Um, the last time I had been up there, when I went in, they had, and again, like I said, that was back around 12. I guess it was fairly recently after the movie came out, League of Their Own. I don't know,
Yes.
somewhere, and there was a lot of photographs from there where the people from, uh, the girls thing had come there, and there was a big celebration, and there was a lot of photos from them being there, a lot of the uniforms and things like that. But um, to be honest with you, I don't remember a whole lot about what was actually on display, but yeah, I'm sure they still have it there.
That one in the Negro League. If they have I don't know how much they would have there.
I don't remember a big section on the Negro Leagues per se. But I know I remember there was, a display on, baseball movies, things like that. But as I said, it's constantly changing. So I mean, what I saw then, if you went up now, you'd probably be seeing something totally different. but it's a great place, and the town is great. I mean, Main Street, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff for sale on Main Street. I mean, a lot of the stuff personally, I would take some of it with a grain of salt,
Mhm.
Yeah,
but there's all kinds of shops there selling memorabilia and all kinds of tchotchkes and things like that if you want to bring something home. But the town is great. There's a big lake there. It's the town's named after the family of James Fenimore Cooper. And if you've read any of his books, he
Yes.
refers to a lake called Glimmerglass, and that's the lake that's in the town because that's Cooperstown is basically the town he's talking about in a lot of his stories. But it's a quaint New York village. There's some breweries around there. You can do a brewery tour. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. You can do the museum in a day if you do a whirlwind. I'd recommend like a 2 or 3 day weekend to see it, and it's a good time.
Are they very accommodating when you have all these conferences? All the different groups like the library in Cooperstown.
My experience with the library, they bent over backwards. I mean, you can get reproductions of any if they have photos and you want a copy of the photo, they'll charge you for a copy of the photo. But I had some photos and the guy made a photocopies of them. I mean, it's not a photographic paper or printed paper. It's not glossy or anything like that. But he took the photo, made copies, and just gave them to me. He gave me some pictures of when they were building Connie Mack Stadium Shibe Park, and it was like it was just the steel skeleton, and I had never seen them before, and he gave me copies of them. But yeah, I found them to be very accommodating at the Hall of Fame. Very. I
I
mean,
just wondered,
I can't say more enough about the people at the library.
I was thinking since if I wanted to do some research on somebody, do I have to ask, do I call somebody ahead of time?
I don't know. You could probably contact the library and ask them that what might be available so that when you go up there you can say, hey, I'm interested in this person, can you show me this? And whatever they have, I mean, they'll dig out. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to bring boxes and boxes out to you and stack it there and have you go through it. You go through X amount and you say, all right, I'm done with this, could you bring something else out? They probably would. But I found them very, very accommodating, especially if you're doing research. I think they would bend over backwards for you.
It would be better to have stuff ahead of time for them to start looking at things.
No, I don't think that's necessary because it seems like they can lay their hands on it pretty quick.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean,
that's good.
you're not looking for a pair of Babe Ruth's old dirty socks, I mean, there's something pure. I
Well,
mean,
dang,
although they could probably produce them, but I mean,
Mhm.
I am so shocked.
but I mean, no, I think they can lay their hands on just about anything they have in a relatively reasonable amount of time to
Okay.
accommodate you.
Yeah, Rachel
Oh,
Wells is who reached out to me. She's the reference librarian, so she might be somebody to reach out to.
okay,
Yeah,
Rachel.
if you reached out to her, Karen, you could probably say, this is what I'm interested in, and if she sent you something down like she did to Scott about, was it Greg Rose?
Greg Rose, yeah.
Um, maybe what she sent you would steer you in a certain direction. You could get back to her and say, hey, I'm coming up. This is what I would like to maybe take a look at when I'm up there, and she could let you know if it's there or not.
Hmm.
That'd be good. I just wondered, because I know dealing with references, I always like to have stuff ready for them to get, if I want them for them to look up for something.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when I had students in reference, they really were just, hey, it's a library. I'm like,
Well,
duh.
to show you, I mean, my maternal great grandfather played ball with Brooklyn and Washington in the 1880s. He was a journeyman catcher. I think in the 3 years that he played in the major leagues, he played like 34 games. when I took my brother up there, uh, I asked them if they could pull his file because they have a file on everybody who's ever played.
Oh,
And they brought me stuff, and again, it was uh a very small file. It was a letter from a great uncle, talking about his father. Um, there wasn't a lot in the file, but they made a photocopy of everything for me, and I didn't even ask them for it. They said, "Here, you're a relative, take this," and like I said, something as obscure as having like a 33, 34 game career. They pulled his file up and while I waited.
that's cool.
Yeah,
Thank you, because that's really neat.
yeah. Scott, what would you say is the uh thing that you would do maybe differently if when you go to Saber 53, now that you're a veteran? Uh, would you, needless to say, you're not going to get a newbie name tag, but
Yeah.
would you be more selective as opposed to trying to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks? Be more selective what you attend.
Yeah, maybe. I'd probably get there a little bit sooner and maybe do a little bit of homework before on some of the things I wanted to go listen to. Um, it's just a lot of information and it comes at you pretty quick. And for me, it takes a while. I like to think about things. I just don't I don't react right away. I like to think through things. Some people are good at just somebody talks and I can go up there and ask a million questions. I like to kind of like let it soak in a little bit. So maybe a little bit of research beforehand on some of the topics, um, and getting there a little early and getting ready because there's a lot of movement back and forth between rooms. I mean, I guess you could stay and wait for the next speaker to come up, but I kept going have to go to a different room because there's a different speaker. So getting
Uh,
back and forth and trying to use the restroom and all those things.
from where the host hotel was, everything was in that hotel, mostly the convention, I assume, right?
Yeah, everything was
Uh,
right there.
but
Yeah.
as far as like getting to like, did they have arrangements for you to shuttle you to Target Field, or if you wanted to go see Mall of America, were those kind of things available where they had things set up where you could, like, if you were attending a conference seminar and you were there with your wife and she wanted to go to Mall of America, did they have something set up where she could attend? They would accommodate her.
Yeah, no, they didn't have anything like that. I mean,
Okay.
the only thing they had for transportation was to the St. Paul game on Thursday night.
Okay.
But the Target Field's all within a mile, so you can walk to it, which is kind of nice.
And from what I
Um,
understand, Globe Life Field's going to be that way in Dallas, Fort Worth area. Is that correct?
no, I think the airport is very close to the hotel, but I think you have to drive to go to the
Oh, okay.
ballpark. I think it's like a 4 mile drive.
Oh, okay.
Um, but hopefully they have like shuttles or something set up for that.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Mall of America was even pretty far away. It was over by the airport, so it was about 20-minute drive. So we just took like an Uber back and forth. But it was just nice to have everything like in that hotel. You can, get up basically and go downstairs and start the day because it literally started at 7 o'clock in the morning and I got done at 5, I think. They had a happy hour where you can get like a beer and talk to people. And then you were off to the ballparks and you got back, it was 10, 11 o'clock at night and you do it all over again next day. So it's a long day. It really is. And I heard the St. Paul's game was awesome too. It was a 2-1 win, a walk off. In fact, they said I think somebody told me that it was 1-1 going into the ninth, and they said, "Look, if this goes extra innings, we can't stay because the bus has to leave at a certain time." And St. Paul scored a run and won the game. And then the next day they had a St. Paul panel up there with like the general manager and operations person and the owners. And that team used to be owned by Bill
Bill
Murray
Murray and
and Bill Veck.
Vec's son. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't own it anymore.
No, they sold it to that private equity group. So that
Oh, okay.
was a big conversation around that. Like how much has changed. It's only been over the last year. So
Well, I'm
not,
not sure, but I think when they owned it, wasn't it independent, whereas now it's AAA
yeah,
National
yeah.
League?
Yeah, it was independent league, and then the Twins took them as a AAA team. Yeah, but they had talked about some promotion nights that failed when Bill Murray owned the team. They did a vasectomy night on Father's Day. A father won a vasectomy, and they got a lot of pushback from the public on that one. They also had a voodoo night, scheduled a voodoo night, and didn't realize they scheduled it for Good Friday.
Oh my God.
So there are just those types of things were really funny.
That's
God.
great.
Because
That's
their philosophy was push the envelope as far as you can, like have fun with it. And because they drew great attendance, even as independently, they were drawing 7,000-8,000 people a game, and
they were probably the most I don't want to say famous, most well-known independent team in the country probably at that
yeah,
time.
yeah. I heard the ballpark's really neat. Everybody enjoyed the game. They said they had a great time. So they must be doing well. Private equity is going to change these things. I'm very interested to see how it goes. I mean, they got 33 teams they own now, I think it is, and they want to get to like 50 something. Um,
Do you think that's a
s-
good thing or a bad thing?
well, my relationship with private equity has never been good. It's good for the first couple years, but they're in it to make money, and they're going to figure out a way to cheapen the product down to get the best profit they can get.
But
So,
and now this is we're going off in another direction, getting away from the Saber 52. But talking about this with the demand, the quote unquote demands that MLB has put on minor league teams
mhm.
for facilities and accommodations, in the clubhouses and things like that. Is private equity the way to accomplish that?
I'm sure they have the money to put in, they're asking for player housing nearby and things. They have the money to do that. I'm sure that's part of it. Um, I worry about where this is going, like 5 years down the road. Um, I just know the way private equity, my company is owned by private equity. We're at the 5 year mark right now. So I know how it works. We're up for sale. Like we have people coming through actively
Are
looking
you
to buy
really?
us. Yeah, so it's been troubling the last year or two. We don't own anything anymore. They sold off all the property, they lease it back. And those things are going to happen. They're going to do some things. Now I do think there's opportunity as far as concerts, and they did talk about this. There's a bunch of country artists that are going from all these minor league ballparks that they own and doing concerts, and it's a different revenue stream for them, which I think there's a lot of opportunity there using these ballparks for other things besides baseball, like
Hmm.
the Stormers are trying to do, with the new
Yep.
field. So I completely understand that, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Short term, that's great, but where's it going long term?
Do you think MLB will ride herd on on these conglomerates that are taking things
Yeah,
over
I don't know.
to protect the product?
Yeah, it's a good. I don't know. Um, I don't know what your thoughts are on the commissioner, but he has me sometimes scratching my head on things he says and does, and I agree with
I don't
some of
want
the
to say
things they
anything.
do.
I don't want to say anything being that we're recording. You might post my picture in the ballparks and I'll be banned. But
Hey,
uh
they made the right decision on the pitch timer, so I'm okay with that. But there's
um yeah, I mean, I don't agree with everything he's done. I mean, I think the days of the commissioners of the, um, uh, oh, I'm trying to think, the Giamattis, I think those guys relegated to the museums now, and you'll never see them again.
Right.
Um, it's it's a business. It's a business now, and you need a business person to lead everything.
Yep.
I was surprised Peter Uteroth didn't hang around a lot longer than he did, because I thought he was that type of person. But uh, I guess they're trying to promote the game in a way that they think is what the public wants, and maybe us as baseball diehards don't see it that way. Maybe some of us live too much in the past and want it to be the way it used to be, and nothing stands still anymore. I mean, things progress.
Well, I was thinking of, I watched the Savannah Bananas because I just have no life. And I think that it's great to watch because everybody has fun.
It's entertaining.
And I think that is exactly what they're trying to get across
Yep.
to everybody. I mean, it looks stupid. I mean, the first throw out is a banana. But nobody gets mad. I think that's the one thing. Nobody fights. Nobody does anything like that. They have fun. Now, the
don't-
the babies who crossed out on the field, that's a little much. But I mean, it just, when they go to the ball game, that's what you have, fun.
Well, I
Mhm.
think people who go to those games, that's what they're not expecting to see, a knockdown, drag out battle.
They're not
expecting
keeping score, right?
exactly. They're going to be entertained.
Yeah.
Yes. And nobody bothers about anything. It's like nobody cares. But it's just fun. So I was watching some of the other ones and everybody's so serious. Geez, do something, have fun.
I was watching a thing tonight. Has anybody been watching the Little League World Series?
A little
No,
bit yesterday, I did. Yeah.
I mean, to watch these kids play, I mean, it's really a lot of fun.
Mhm.
But they were I enjoy watching the Little League World Series, and I enjoy watching the College World Series,
Yeah.
because that's some really good baseball.
Hmm. Yeah, I love College World Series.
that's the thing. That's what I like to see. I like to see people have fun and not be so constrained and yelling at
Well,
anybody.
like you said, like Scott mentioned earlier that whether it was Carew or Oliva, whoever it was, said that they don't like the way they play baseball today. It's almost a different game.
It is.
It truly is.
Rod kept saying about he can't understand how these players can't hit the other way and how they can't just place it down the line, or like, why pull everything? Why is it all launch angle, and why is it? And you could just tell a frustration with talking about it with him. If they would, and I think a lot of it would seem to me is they didn't listen to him. He was a hitting coach. They didn't listen to this guy. Is a 7-time batting champ, and you don't listen to him. Like, I just don't like. I mean, I'd be soaking him up like a sponge.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. I think one of the things I'm really interested in seeing what baseball does is with the Olympics in 4 years.
Well,
I
it's
I
funny you
think that's
mentioned
gonna
that.
be, yeah.
Funny you mentioned that. I have that right here. I made a couple notes. Karen, you'll be happy to know that they announced, and I left the other part of the piece of paper in the house, but they approved 6 sports for Los Angeles to be included in the Olympics. I know squash is one of them, flag football, cricket. I can't think of a fourth one, but baseball and softball are back for Los Angeles. And I'm sorry to tell you this, Karen, don't shoot me. I'm only the messenger, but breaking has been eliminated. They, this was the one and done. Apparently, they made the decision before the medals were even given out. They said people just were not impressed with it. So breaking
Not
is
even that one country where that lady didn't even follow the rules. She
Australia,
got
where
a,
she
she
scored a
got,
zero.
yeah, she got a 0.
Let's just do whatever we want. It's
But
like making crochet. I
uh,
think Black Friday should be an Olympic sport.
well, we might
Because
have
you really,
maybe
why
stock car
not?
racing's coming. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, I'm glad to see baseball and softball coming back to it.
Yeah,
No,
I just wish they
I don't
get
remember
rid
the
of.
last time when it was in there. I know when initially when the NHL players were playing in the Winter Olympics, didn't they shut the NHL down for a couple of weeks while the Olympics were going on initially?
Yeah, I think so.
But when baseball was in before, MLB didn't shut down. How did they handle that, Scott? Or even when
I
they
d-
had even when they had the World Baseball Classic, how do they handle that? If the guys want to
um,
participate, they just take a leave from the game.
I don't think anything was ever during the season.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, so this is the big question. It's going to happen during the All-Star break. Do they extend it out 2 weeks so that MLB players can play in this or not? That's the big question. The owners are very much against it. I mean,
Oh,
obviously they don't want their pitchers out there throwing for meaningless games.
or
You know,
even
it's
have somebody get hurt.
that's what they're afraid of. Somebody's gonna get hurt.
Exactly. And I can appreciate that.
Yeah,
But
a lot
they
of
have
money.
break dancing. And they're worried about getting hurt. They have break dancing.
Well, I mean, the owners are worried about, you got a guy. I mean, let's say Judge goes off and plays in the Olympics, and for somehow, some way, something happens, somebody breaks a leg or something like that. God forbid, uh, how would the Yankees feel, if he went off to play in the Olympics and wound up being out for not only the season but possibly, the beginning of the following season.
Or
Yep, yep.
They got a lot of money tied up in their players.
The other thing to consider though is promoting the game, and I think right now I think we need to promote the game as much as possible. I'm so tired of turning on the radio and all I hear about is NFL, NFL, NFL. You go anywhere and they're talking about NFL and all during July when it should be talking about baseball. They just don't promote this game and they have to figure out a way to do that. And I think the Olympics is part of it. This sport is a worldwide game now. I'm telling you, these other countries are gonna give it the United States a run for its money if they did with the national players. If Shohei Ohtani goes and plays for Japan, it's gonna be interesting.
Oh
Look at
yeah,
the World
these guys,
Baseball Classic.
they just don't play for the American team. They go back and play for their home countries. And
That's right.
I mean, you saw it in the Olympics with the basketball. I mean, these guys
Yeah.
who are stars in the NBA, they're playing for all these different countries,
Hmm.
and it really makes for some good baseball.
It's gonna be great baseball. I think it's gonna be a great thing. I love the World Baseball Classic. I don't. I was very much into that. I love watching the other countries, especially South Central America. Where they're into the game and they're playing music, and even in Asia, they're dancing and
Oh,
it.
the Asian teams. I mean,
Yeah, it's great.
the Japanese stadiums have always been notorious for being really into the games. I mean,
I
the
love it.
fans just love it.
Yep.
That's why,
So
that's why
it's
even going back to like the 30s, the major league players used to go over there and tour.
mm,
I mean, Japan was a hotbed for baseball.
yeah.
But now, like you said, I mean, all these other countries, they're all on board with it too. I mean, even during COVID, I was watching. I didn't watch a lot of the Korean baseball. I watched Australian baseball. I watched some of that,
Mm,
and it was just interesting.
yeah. Yeah, I think the players' union's going to have to weigh in on this too, and it's going to be interesting to see because now I think Otani just came out this week and said he wants to play. Harper already came out and said he wanted to play. You start getting the top players in the major leagues wanting to play this. They'd have to start listening to them.
Yeah,
Yep.
makes sense.
And you
But-
got time. It's 4 years out.
Yeah.
You can start planning it. You
They
know?
have 4 years to screw it up.
That's right. That's right.
That's the only thing I have to say about it. If Pittsburgh's not in it, I can understand why they would
Well,
keep them
I think Paul Skeens will be starting in the Olympics in 4 years.
out.
Yeah.
Well,
It's I agree with Scott. Up here, Karen, I'm sure it is that way down where you're at now. But up here, high school football is very big. And like our local TV stations, news stations, on Friday night, they'll have a 45-minute program in the evening to recap all the high school football games. High school football gets more play up here than baseball does.
I know. I used to watch it and I was like,
I mean, if I had a child playing high school football, I would want it too. You know, I'm not into it, but I mean, if I had a child or a grandchild playing, I would want to see him play, and I'd want to see him maybe highlighted on TV. But at the same time, I miss seeing the coverage of baseball. Like Scott said, the NFL's getting so much play right now, even though you're only in preseason, and high school football, and even the NBA gets more play than MLB.
well, that's the next, that they should start being more creative.
I
Yeah.
agree. They don't do a good job of promoting the top players in the game. It just there's a lot of room that they can improve on, I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, I need to go and do some research.
Okay, Karen. Well, it
I
was good
am
seeing
working
you.
on
Good talking with you.
Inez Vorez. She's
Okay.
a left-handed baseball player.
Who was it?
Inez Vorez.
Okay.
And she was in Iowa. And then she became big in with the women's league. And what's amazing is you don't hear about her, but there's a museum of her.
Hmm.
And I want to find out a little bit more about her.
Okay. Well, good luck with your research.
Thank you. That's why I was wondering how do I go? I guess I can just
Well,
call.
if Scott gave you that woman's name, maybe you can shoot her a note and
Yes,
ask her if you have anything on this woman that would be available for you to do research with, and maybe she can send you a couple things, and then if you ever get up there, you can go more in depth.
yes. Thank you.
Yep. Research at baseballhall.org.
I'll try that. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, welcome. Yeah, good
And
luck.
you have a good day, a good
All
night.
right.
You too, Karen.
You
Nice
too,
seeing you
Karen.
again.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Scott, I guess you want to knock it off of the recording, and then maybe we
Yeah.
can